What is going on, fellow Earth dwellers? How about we do a second neighborhoods list? Neighborhoods you should never dwell in, to be more specific. I said in my last video that we could do 2 or 3 of these bad neighborhood videos. I'm thinking more now that I'm doing some research. We have a bunch of really bad neighborhoods in this country. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this list, a bunch of stats, a bad location, and a reputation pretty much make up a bad neighborhood. If you think a place is bad because it has a bunch of violent crimes, well, you're correct. That does make it bad, but it might not also have a sewage treatment plant in its borders or crappy schools like another neighborhood. So that's why a really dangerous place might not have made this list. What I'm getting at is crime isn't the only stat on this list, and they really don't fall into any particular order, but all have a strong argument for being the worst. Now, I know this should probably be called 10 more bad neighborhoods. I get it. Stop typing. Still gonna call it top 10. I have a theme on this channel and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, the neighborhoods on this list are the type of places you don't need to move to, or at least move to willingly. So why don't we take a look? Here's my top 10 worst neighborhoods in America. Number 2. Number 10. Druid Hills, Birmingham, Alabama. Druid Hills isn't the place you want to be for very long, or for any amount of time, to be perfectly honest. In the past year, this small neighborhood has seen 60 counts of theft, 23 burglaries, 13 shootings, and 5 armed robberies. And recently, they've seen packs of coyotes roaming the neighborhood. I didn't even think these things traveled in packs. I mean, small family units, and I get that. I mean, I watch Discovery Channel and the Roadrunner cartoon. I mean, I know it all. So, move to Druid Hills if you like theft, burglary, shootings, and the unnatural evolution of the coyote. Number 9. The Fairfield area, Baltimore, Maryland. In case you ever visit Baltimore, don't ever visit the Fairfield area. The crime rate here is 305% higher than the national average, giving you a 1 in 9 chance of being involved in a crime while in the neighborhood. The good news is, this is an industrial area and doesn't have any homes really. And they shouldn't. This place is polluted like most places that have been industrial areas for more than like a week in the United States, I imagine. They do have people living here though. They just live outdoors, kind of like urban campers that do it for more than like a weekend. This apparently is also a hot spot for overnight parking if you're living out of your car. Number 8. North Blue Ridge, Kansas City, Missouri. This area of Kansas City is a very small community with only about 100 residents. And it's a good thing the population is so low. This is a very poor area. The unemployment rate is 210% higher than the national average. Of the residents who do work, the income per capita is only about $12,000. Only $12,000? How do you make it on $12,000? Anyway, they also have more broken down cars than residents, it seems, and that's not counting the local pick-and pool. Now, I'm talking about cars in backyards that haven't moved in 10, 15 years, and even the ones on cinder blocks in the front yard that haven't moved in 3 years. Yeah, they got a lot of those. Now, they do have a Dunkin' Donuts, and that kind of makes you forget about all the rest, but still, it's not a good place. Number 7. College Hill, St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri, you've made it twice on this list. Isn't that great? This one, you can get the whole story on this town almost on stats alone. The unemployment rate in College Hill is 185% higher than the national average. The median household income in College Hill is 63% lower than the national average. The overall crime rate in College Hill is 219% higher than the national average. You know something's wrong with your neighborhood when you drive through it and people have boarded up all the lower windows on most of the homes. Not vacant homes, occupied homes. They do have this really cool tower in the middle of town. Oh, look, hey, boarded up windows. Number 6. Hunts Point, New York, New York. This one is so bad, HBO did a documentary about the streetwalkers that work here. Everything about this neighborhood is horrible. The cost of living is 12% higher than the national average. How? How is that a thing? Everything about this place sucks, and it still costs too much to live there. That's crazy. If you live here now, move. That's your best option. Being able to tell people you live in New York City isn't worth living here. The crime rate is 65% higher than the national average, and the average income per capita is $11,000. How much are these street walking girls making here if they're only making $11,000 a year? Number 5. West Englewood, Chicago. Congratulations, Chicago, you're on the list. And congratulations to all of you that always ask why Chicago didn't make the list. I've explained this before, but we'll do a quick recap on why it never does make the list. There's just too many people in Chicago. And since crime stats and all other stats are done on averages and per capita, it just doesn't cut it. It doesn't add up. Most of Chicago is really nice with really good people. West Englewood is not part of that Chicago. It is actually known as the worst area in terms of gang activities in Chicago. The crime rate in West Englewood is 262% higher than the national average. I'll say that again. The crime rate is 262% higher than the national average. While in the area, you have a 1 in 9 chance of being involved in a crime. This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of 2 neighborhoods that give Chicago a bad reputation. Okay, maybe there's a third. Number 4, Eagledale, Indianapolis, Indiana. This area of Indianapolis is no stranger to crime. A little over 20% of the population is living in poverty. For the most part, this is due to their drug dependency. Just last week, authorities served 15 search warrants. From these raids, 11 pounds of meth, 60 pounds of weed, 18 firearms, and 25 bootleg copies of Medea Goes to Jail were seized. Like I said, these people are on drugs. That was just Tuesday also. What the hell do they have planned for Friday? Eagledale is safer than 2% of the cities in the United States. In other words, if you took 100 towns in this country, there would only be 2 worse than this little slice of heaven. Number 3, Midtown, New York, New York. Midtown is the highest per capita crime rate in all of New York City. It's actually 215% higher than the national average. For every 100,000 residents, there's 126 crimes reported. Just last month, there were reports of teens robbing newsstands, a Lyft driver being assaulted by a bicyclist in traffic, 18 reports of men exposing themselves, and 4 reports of people trying to buy Jets season tickets. I'm telling you, it's gotten bad in Midtown. Number 2, Fuller Park, Chicago. Fuller Park is the worst area of Chicago you can go to. The crime rate is 145% higher than the national average. The total year-over-year crime in the neighborhood has increased by 13%. The schools here are bad, they have no jobs, and the weather sucks. This is what politicians are talking about when they're trying to scare you into voting for them. 2 or 3 neighborhoods in Chicago are bad, and they make it sound like this whole city's a war zone. Then they make you think they're the only ones that can save you, so you better vote for them. It's all nonsense, and stop typing. I'm not saying any party does it more than the other one. They all do it. They're all guilty. It sucks. And number 1, the Fashion District and Skid Row, Los Angeles. Skid Row and the Fashion District are right next to each other and kind of are one and the same. And stop typing. They are. And they're also frickin' scary places to be and should be avoided at any time of the day or night. Drugs and crime are out in the open in this area, and they have an overall crime rate that's 75% higher than the national average. And I promise you, that is an incorrect stat. I'm sure it is much, much higher. I used to work in this area. At least I had to pick up supplies here. And it looks like downtown Tijuana if downtown Tijuana took a turn for the worst. It's worse than Tijuana. I'm not kidding. The reason I say there's more crimes is because nobody reports anything. The police try and avoid this area at all times, and the locals know it, and they don't even call the police. The police have pretty much taken the stance that if there's not a body, they're not investigating anything. So it's useless to call them. You gotta fend for yourself in these neighborhoods. A cop told me that once. He said, if there's not a body, they're not showing up. The area is said to be America's homeless capital, with around 2,500 homeless residents within this half square mile. I'm not kidding, it's a half square mile. The streets here look like people are camping out on the sidewalk to get the latest iPhone or something. It's just, these people are in line every single day, and all of them put together don't have enough to buy one iPhone. I'm not even kidding. They're all broke. Obviously, they're living in Skid Row, Los Angeles, and they go around the Fashion District digging in trash cans. It's sad. I'm not trying to make light of them. That's a bad situation there. And it is probably one of the worst neighborhoods in the country, the 2 of them together. Alright, so that's my top 10 worst neighborhoods in the United States, number 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope I didn't scare you too much, but there are some scary neighborhoods in this country. I'd love to hear what you think. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I have links if you want to buy some merch. That's down below. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.